Why, hello, I'm Andy and I'm here at Union Station in Washington, D.C., a very busy stop on Amtrak's network as well as the D.C. Metro, but it's also the western terminus of D.C.'s modern streetcar line. And today we're going to be riding the entirety of that line, looking at some of the lesser known secrets and facts that you may not know about this much discussed and semi-abandoned piece of D.C.'s transit scene. So join me, ride with me, and let's begin this journey. Welcome to Secrets of the DC Streetcar, Part 1. The DC Streetcar runs from Union Station east along H Street Northeast, and then along Benning Road Northeast, where it ends at Oklahoma Avenue, making 8 stops along the way. This modern streetcar line, which opened in 2016, is completely free to ride and runs every 12 minutes. However, the DC Streetcar is not owned or operated by WMATA, which runs DC's metro system, but is instead owned by the District Department of Transportation and is operated by RATP Dev, a French state-owned enterprise which operates various transit systems around the world. This line only represents a small fragment of what was once DC's large legacy streetcar network, which lasted until the 1960s. Beginning in the 1990s, a renewed interest in bringing the streetcar back to DC, which, after several iterations spanning the course of over a decade, resulted in the creation of a streetcar network plan, which, due to various political, financial, and technical hurdles, some of which we'll get into in Part 2 of this series, resulted in the H Street line being the only one finished. And although extensions have been proposed at either end of the current line, for now, we'll have to be content with the little line we have today. That being said, one additional portion of the modern network plan did see construction, but we'll hold off and get there in Part 2 of this series. For now, let's begin our journey back at Union Station. Now, the western terminus of the DC Streetcar is Union Station, but it's actually kind of a hike to get there from where we're standing right now in the main hall, as we'll show right now. Alright, so we made it to the Union Station streetcar stop after walking what was about just shy of 6 minutes from the main hall out here. Not necessarily the most pleasant of surroundings here at the streetcar stop, mainly due to the fact that it's basically highway speeds on both sides of cars and we're just in the middle of a bridge. But wait! The streetcar terminus here at Union Station wasn't always supposed to be in the middle of H Street. Original plans for the DC Streetcar would have had the streetcar not on H Street, but beneath it. To explain how this would have been possible, let's get into a little bit of history behind the H Street Bridge. The H Street Bridge, also known as the Hopscotch Bridge for reasons we'll get into later in this video, was built in 1975. Before this, H Street ducked under the tracks, not over, through a tunnel known as the H Street Tunnel. While the opening of the Hopscotch Bridge was the end of car traffic through the H Street Tunnel, the tunnel still exists today. Come down to 1st Street or 2nd Street Northeast and you can see where the tunnel has been bricked up and turned into a parking garage. And if you want to see where they sealed up the original H Street Tunnel, all you have to do is look for the differences in the wall colors here on 1st Street Northeast. So how does this relate to the modern H Street streetcar line? Well, DDOT originally wanted to locate the Union Station streetcar terminus here, in this tunnel under H Street, rather than along the Hopscotch Bridge, where it is today. the underground streetcar station would have still been a single-side platform, much like the existing station on the H Street Hopscotch Bridge, except it would have been far more to the west than the current station, and most importantly, it would have featured a connection to this tunnel provision that was never finished. In our Secrets of the Red Line video, we talked about an unused tunnel leading from the metro station's north mezzanine towards H Street, which was unfortunately unfinished and currently unused. This 600-foot pedestrian tunnel would have connected to H Street and the underground streetcar station, making for a much easier and more convenient, if not more comfortable, transfer than what currently exists. But why wasn't the station built underground? Well, in May 2010, the owner of the tunnel parking lot, the Potomac Development Corporation, wrote in a letter to DDOT that we are convinced that running streetcars through the H Street tunnel will unreasonably interfere with our use of said tunnel. We will no longer provide access to our portion of the tunnel, effectively crushing all hopes of an underground station so as to preserve the existing underground parking lot. One thing to notice, however, at the end of the letter was the note that, quote, DDOT ultimately intends to run the streetcars over the overpass. This was actually true. Confusingly enough, this underground station, had it been built, would have been temporary, as the letter suggests. But why? Well, if an extension to Georgetown were to have been built as planned, the tracks would have needed to continue west beyond the Union Station streetcar stop. However, since the proposed streetcar maintenance facility was proposed to be just west of the underground station, this would effectively block any extension westward. And so, DDOT planned to have the streetcar route and the Union Station stop eventually moved above ground on the H Street Bridge as it is today. And even though the streetcar station ended up being above ground anyways, a provision for this original plan seems to have been constructed into the existing track layout, with the tracks splitting right before the bridge at H and 3rd Street Northeast, seemingly built assuming that the center running tracks would dip underground and you'd need to have extra tracks going around that to continue westward. But we're really not sure. So if you have any idea why these little stub tracks exist, let us know in the comments. And I know we've been talking a lot about this first Union Station stop, but I hope you'll indulge me with one final fun fact before we depart on the streetcar for Oklahoma Avenue. And that is, anyone waiting for a streetcar at the current Union Station stop will have surely noticed the mural that surrounds them entirely on the H Street Hopscotch Bridge. The mural was the work of Deirdre Saunder, a well-known DC artist who is behind the lovely mosaics at Glenmont Station on the Red Line. Saunder designed the mural to include 320 6-foot ceramic tile sculptures depicting children playing hopscotch, hence why the bridge is known as the Hopscotch Bridge. The mural was funded through private donations where folks or organizations could adopt one of the children. The tiles were installed by 12 local high school students, with the mural even winning an award at the Spectrum International Worldwide Ceramic Tile Design Competition in 1998. Unfortunately, the mural is not in the best condition today, but most of it, and the sponsor plaques, are still intact. And with that, I think it's time that we finally depart Union Station and truly begin our journey on the streetcar. In doing so, we enter the H Street segment of the line and switch from center running tracks to tracks that run on the side of the street. This choice has certainly proven problematic for the streetcar, given that it runs right against parked cars on H Street. Although a red line was painted along the street showing the boundary cars need to clear in order to park without obstructing the streetcar, this design choice has led to several instances of trains either being delayed because they need to slow down to eke by cars parked too close to the tracks, which is what we experienced when we were on the train, delays caused by cars straight up blocking the tracks, or delays caused by worse incidents. Nonetheless, we push eastward, reaching the intersection of H Street, Maryland Avenue, Florida Avenue, and Bladensburg Road Northeast. It's here where the H Street streetcar line switches from those problematic outside tracks to center running tracks, which we'll stay on for the rest of our journey. And so we push eastward, at a slightly faster rate I might add, along these center-running tracks, reaching the Benning Road and 19th Street station, which I'm calling out only because it has one small difference between the other island platform stations along the streetcar line, and that is it has a fence that separates the eastbound and westbound sides of the center platform due to a small, if not almost unnoticeable, difference in height between the two sides. I'll admit this is a small difference, but when there are only 8 stations in total, you gotta call them as you see them. As we approach the eastern terminus of the DC Streetcar, we go by the Car Barn Training Center, the operational and maintenance facility for the DC Streetcar. This building, which won a number of awards after its construction, was designed to fit in with the surrounding educational campus to its north. The building features some very large glass windows where it is possible for the public to go and sort of take a look at what's going on inside the facility. Nonetheless, we continue forward, approaching our final station at Benning Road and Oklahoma Avenue. And all right, so we've made it to the end of the DC Streetcar line here at Oklahoma Avenue. It was a pretty short ride, but while you might think this is the end of our Secrets of the DC Streetcar, it's not, because there's a second part to the modern DC streetcar system that wasn't actually finished. And so, we're actually going to hop back on a streetcar just like that, to go see the abandoned DC streetcar. But for that, you'll have to wait for Secrets of the DC Streetcar Part 2.